The envelope arrived on a Tuesday, sliding through Maya Chin's mail slot like a knife between ribs. She stood in her cramped Brooklyn apartment, still wearing her waitress uniform, the smell of coffee and burnt toast clinging to her hair. Her fingers trembled as she tore it open. Lawsuit for defamation. Plaintiff, Derek Morrison. Maya's chest tightened. Derek, her ex-fiancé, the man who'd promised her the world, then shattered it when she discovered his embezzlement scheme at the nonprofit where they both worked. She'd reported him, testified against him, and watched him serve 18 months in prison. That was 2 years ago. She thought it was over. Now he wanted $5 million for destroying his reputation. She couldn't afford a lawyer. She could barely afford rent. Maya sank onto her second-hand couch, the legal papers trembling in her hands. The preliminary hearing was in 3 weeks. Her mind raced through impossible calculations. Her savings account had $1,247. Her mother in Seattle was already struggling with medical bills. She was alone in this. The next morning, Maya's story exploded across social media. Someone had leaked the lawsuit, and suddenly everyone had an opinion. Justice for Maya trended alongside Gold Digger Exposed. Strangers dissected her life online, debating whether she was a hero or a vindictive ex-lover. Maya kept her head down, serving coffee to customers who whispered and pointed, until he walked in. Ethan Cross didn't look like a billionaire in his worn jeans and faded Columbia hoodie, but Maya recognized him immediately. Everyone did. The tech mogul had built his empire from nothing, and his face regularly graced magazine covers with headlines like, "The Genius Who Refuses to Compromise." He ordered a black coffee and waited until her shift ended. "I'd like to help," he said simply, as Maya wiped down tables in the empty cafe. She laughed, a bitter, exhausted sound. "Why? You don't know me." "I know Derek Morrison." Ethan's gray eyes darkened. "He tried to pitch me an investment 3 years ago. I investigated him. Found evidence of fraud he'd buried deep. When I confronted him, he threatened to sue me for slander if I warned anyone." He paused. "I had lawyers and money. I could afford to ignore him. You couldn't." Maya studied his face, searching for the angle. Men like him didn't help women like her without wanting something. "What's the catch?" "No catch. But I want to sit in that courtroom. I want to watch him lose." "You're offering me lawyers?" Just like that. Ethan smiled, not the polished grin she'd seen in interviews, but something rawer. "I'm offering you the best legal team money can buy. And something else." He leaned forward. "I'm offering to make him regret ever thinking he could intimidate someone into silence." Maya's throat tightened with dangerous hope. She'd been fighting alone for so long that the offer felt like oxygen after drowning. But she'd trusted the wrong man before. "Why do you really care?" she whispered. Ethan's expression shifted, vulnerability flickering across his features. "Because 5 years ago, someone powerful tried to bury me with lawsuits when I exposed their fraud. I nearly lost everything. No one helped me then." He met her eyes. "Consider this paying it forward." Maya's hands stilled on the table she was cleaning. She could refuse, protect herself from disappointment, from owing anyone anything. Or she could accept help from a stranger who might understand what it meant to fight monsters with empty pockets. "Okay," she breathed. "Okay." The courtroom felt like a coliseum designed for public execution. Maya sat at the defendant's table, flanked by Ethan's legal team, 3 shark-eyed attorneys in suits that cost more than her car. Across the aisle, Derek looked polished and wronged, his new lawyer radiating expensive confidence. But it was the cameras that made Maya's skin crawl. Derek had somehow gotten the judge to allow media coverage, turning her trauma into entertainment. Ethan sat in the front row gallery, his presence a steady anchor in the chaos. He'd kept his distance during the preparation, letting his lawyers do their work, but Maya felt him watching, not with judgment, but with quiet solidarity. Derek's lawyer painted Maya as a jealous woman who'd fabricated evidence when her relationship soured. He showed emails taken out of context, testimony from Derek's friends claiming Maya was unstable and vindictive. With each word, Maya felt herself shrinking, becoming the villain in someone else's story. Then it was her turn. Ethan's lead attorney, a steel-haired woman named Sarah Chun, built Maya's defense like architecture, precise, unshakable. She presented the original evidence Maya had given to prosecutors, bank statements, forged signatures, testimony from the nonprofit's board. She called character witnesses who spoke of Maya's integrity, her years of volunteer work, her courage in speaking truth to power. But the turning point came during cross-examination, when Derek's lawyer tried to paint Ethan as Maya's wealthy boyfriend, suggesting financial motivation for the defense. "We're not in a relationship," Maya said clearly, her voice carrying through the courtroom. "Mr. Cross is helping me because it's right. Because Derek Morrison is a predator who uses lawsuits to silence victims, and someone finally had the resources to stop him." Derek's face flushed red. He leaned toward his lawyer, whispering furiously. During the lunch recess, Maya escaped to the courthouse steps, desperate for air. The press swarmed like locusts, shoving microphones and cameras in her face. "Maya, is Ethan Cross your boyfriend? Did you seduce him for his money? How long have you two been together?" She froze, overwhelmed, until Ethan appeared at her side. He didn't touch her, didn't speak, just stood there, a wall between her and the chaos. "Back up," he said quietly, but something in his tone made hardened reporters take a step back. They found refuge in a small courthouse garden, hidden from cameras. Maya's hands shook as adrenaline drained away. "This is insane," she whispered. "They're making me into something I'm not." "They're afraid," Ethan said. "Derek's afraid. His lawyer's afraid. Because you're winning, and they know it." Maya looked at him, really looked. In 3 weeks, this near stranger had upended his schedule, mobilized his resources, and sat through hours of court proceedings for her. "Why are you really doing this?" she asked again. Ethan was quiet for a long moment. "My sister," he finally said. 10 years ago, her boss sexually harassed her. She reported him. He sued her for defamation. She couldn't afford to fight. She dropped the complaint, and he kept his job. His jaw tightened. She never fully recovered from that powerlessness. "I've spent 10 years wishing I'd had the money then to help her." Maya's heart cracked open. "I'm sorry." "Don't be sorry. Just win." That afternoon, the tide turned completely. Sarah produced evidence that Derek had filed similar frivolous lawsuits against 2 other women who'd reported his misconduct. Lawsuits he'd quietly dropped when they couldn't afford to defend themselves. The judge's expression hardened. The verdict came on a Friday morning, exactly 6 weeks after that first envelope had arrived. The judge dismissed Derek's lawsuit with prejudice, awarded Maya court costs, and suggested the prosecutor's office might want to investigate Derek's pattern of using litigation as harassment. Maya stood as the gavel fell, her knees weak with relief so profound it felt like rebirth. Outside, the press had multiplied. News vans lined the street, reporters jostling for position. Maya's hand found Ethan's arm, steadying herself. Sarah briefed them quickly. "You don't have to make a statement, but if you do, keep it short. Thank the court, express relief, move on." But as Maya and Ethan descended the courthouse steps, Derek appeared behind them, his face twisted with rage. "You think you've won?" he shouted, loud enough for every microphone to catch. "You're nothing. You'll always be nothing. The only reason you're standing here is because you manipulated a rich man into fighting your battles." The words hit like slaps. Maya turned, and in that moment, she saw him clearly. Not the charming man she'd once loved, but a small, bitter person who needed to diminish others to feel powerful. "No," she said, her voice ringing clear. "I'm standing here because I told the truth. Because I refuse to be silenced. You lost because you're a coward who only picks fights with people you think can't fight back." Derek lunged forward. Security intervened, but the damage was done. Cameras had caught everything. His mask of victimhood finally shattered. Ethan moved instinctively, positioning himself between Maya and Derek. And in that charged moment, with cameras rolling and the world watching, something shifted. Maya turned to thank him, to somehow express her gratitude, but words felt insufficient. Ethan was looking at her with an intensity that made her breath catch. Admiration, respect, and something deeper that neither had acknowledged until now. He leaned down. She rose up. The kiss was soft, brief, but electric, a moment of genuine connection in the midst of manufactured drama. The press exploded. Camera flashes created daylight. Reporters shouted questions in a deafening wave. Ethan pulled back, his eyes widening as he realized what they'd just done. Live, on camera, with the whole world watching. "I'm sorry," he started, but Maya was laughing. Real, unburdened laughter that felt like flying. Don't be, she said. Don't be sorry. Within hours, the kiss was everywhere. Billionaire kiss trended worldwide. Think pieces debated spontaneity versus propriety. Late-night hosts made jokes. The video was replayed endlessly. But something unexpected happened. The narrative shifted. What could have been reduced to spectacle instead became a story about human connection, about finding hope in darkness, about two people who'd fought together and discovered something real. Derek's final humiliation came when the prosecutor did reopen his case, finding new evidence of ongoing fraud. His attempt to silence Maya had instead amplified her voice and exposed his crimes. 6 months later, Maya stood in a different courtroom, this one for her swearing in as a victim advocate for the district attorney's office. Ethan was there, in the back row, his presence still a quiet support. Afterward, they walked through Central Park as autumn painted the trees gold. I start at the DA's office Monday, Maya said. Real salary, health insurance, the whole thing. You deserve it. Ethan smiled. Though I'll miss you at the cafe. You made the best coffee. I'll make you coffee anytime. Maya stopped walking, turning to face him. Ethan, I need to say something. That kiss was probably terrible timing, he finished. I know. I've been told by approximately 400 news outlets. It was perfect timing, Maya corrected. It was honest. Everything else was a circus, but that moment was real. Ethan's expression softened. So where does that leave us? Maya considered. They'd been through battle together, but hadn't dated, hadn't built the normal foundation couples needed. Yet she knew him in ways that mattered more, his integrity, his compassion, his willingness to fight for what was right. It leaves us here, she said. At the beginning. No cameras, no lawsuits. Just two people figuring out if what started in chaos can become something lasting. Ethan took her hand. I'd like that. They walked on as the sun set over the city, two survivors who'd found each other in the midst of war. Derek had brought her to court, thinking he'd destroy her. Instead, he'd pushed her towards someone who saw her strength, not her vulnerability. In the end, Derek lost everything, his reputation, his freedom, his power to intimidate. And Maya? She won far more than a court case. She won herself back and discovered that sometimes the best love stories begin not with romance, but with someone standing beside you when the whole world is watching. If you liked it, subscribe to the channel and enjoy these other amazing stories.